All right, today we're going to be learning about the relationships organisms can have. We've already talked about energy being transferred throughout an ecosystem, going from producers all the way up to the consumers. And then we've also talked about levels of organization with the studying just the organism, the small little organism, maybe the small squirrel. And then studying its huge ecosystem. So going from very small studies to huge areas of study. Um, as we talk about relationships between organisms, the first one I want to mention is competition. Competition is when two organisms fight for the same limited resources. These same limited resources are examples that you're going to write down, such as food and water and shelter and mates. And these are limited because we have to fight for them. We have only a select few to choose from. And competition can be one of two things. It can be interspecific, which is when different species compete for the resources. Interspecific, I like to think of that as like an interstate highway, because interstate highway is a highway that goes between two different states. So interspecific competition would be competition between two different species. Sorry. So then we have intra-specific competition. Intra-specific competition is when members of the same species compete for resources. So we've got same species competing for maybe a mate, whereas different species might compete, like this lioness hyena might compete for territory. Those would be two good examples for it. Another relationship that we're going to talk about is the predation one, where one organism captures and feeds on another one. Predator is an organism that eats, obviously, and the prey is the one that is that is being eaten, and this can affect the population size of both the predator and the prey. And here's how it can do that. The predator, if it can't find any food, then it's going to starve and it is going to die. If the predator has a lot of predators in the area, then obviously the prey are going to begin to die because those predators are going to hunt them. And they have a very interesting relationship in that it is like a roller coaster, is how I like to think of it. And if this red line represents our let's call it cheetah population, and this gray line represents the deer population. We can't see gray, so we're going to change that color. And this green line represents the deer population. They are opposite in that population size is going to go up at times and down at times. And I kind of told you the wrong colors there, but this green one is going to be our predator, and the red one is going to be our deer or our prey. As the predators begin to rise, these other ones begin to fall immediately after because they have such a high number. And when there's a lot of predators, they're going to be eating a lot. So the prey number is going to go down. As the prey number goes down, so does the predator number, because there's not enough food for them, so some of them are dying. So their relationship is like a roller coaster. Our next couple of relationships are called symbiosis. And symbiosis is a close relationship between different species that live in the same habitat. So we're talking about close relationships between these species. This close relationship is usually, I like to represent it as smiley faces and non-smiley faces, but if you look on the left side of your notes, first one is mutualism, and mutualism is when both organisms benefit. That is your description. I also like to put one smiley face for one organism and another smiley face for another organism. So both organisms benefit. Your next one is commensalism, and commensalism is when one organism is going to benefit, the other is not going to be affected at all. So here, I'll draw one happy face and one just a content face, just a just a straight line across. Doesn't matter whether he is satisfied or not. He's just not affected at all. Lastly is parasitism, where one organism benefits and the other is harmed. That would be considered a smiley face and obviously a dead, sad face. So, 3 descriptions that you should have written out. Here are some examples that you could put for each one. An example for mutualism, it would be the oxpecker bird and a zebra, or even a rhinoceros. Oxpeckers land on the backs and they eat the ticks off of them, and then the oxpeckers get food. So the bird is getting food, and the zebra or the rhinoceros is getting the parasites knocked off of them. Another one would be bees and flowers. Bees gather the nectar, the flowers get pollinated, so both of them are benefiting. So smiley face or smiley face, or plus and plus. Both of them are getting benefited. Moving on from here, 2 more examples for the commensalism would be cattle, egrets, and cows. As cows walk through grass, these birds move along with the cows, and they eat the insects that are stirred up from the cows. So these insects will jump up in the air. As they jump up in the air, the little cattle egrets will grab them and eat them. This is helping the cattle egrets, which is the bird, but the cow is just unaffected. He doesn't mind if he's there, and it's not hurting him or helping him. Another one, which you guys might know, but the barnacles on the whales, they hitch rides on the whales. The whales don't get affected by them at all. And our last one, which is parasitism. Parasites come in, they infect a host, and when they infect a host, they kill it. And so a tick is a parasite and a dog is the host. A tick attaches to the dog and it sucks blood and steals the nutrients away, and the tick will end up being benefited. The dog is obviously being harmed during this time. So you can write one of these down for parasitism. There's a key difference between parasites and predation. Both of them are positive and negative for benefiting one organism and obviously hurting the other. But here's key differences, and you're going to write these down inside of your Venn diagram. But predation usually has a predator hunting and then killing its prey immediately. Parasites just take nutrients away and feed off of a host while letting it live. So parasites don't necessarily hunt, they just infect, and then they steal the nutrients and letting it live until it finally steals so many nutrients that it dies. Predation and parasites are very similar because they both feed on other organisms, but that would be your middle in between both of those. They are still very different. So our last thing is that today you're going to work on is we skipped Wednesday's population lesson, which we're going to do tomorrow instead. Today we're going to work on Station 7, that symbiosis activity, and then Station 6, only the succession part. So on your notes, you have 2 Station 6s. Your left side is a Station 6 and your right side is a Station 6. Just complete this right side for today. And that's it.